What is going on, guys? Pro Designs here, and in today's tutorial I'm going to show you how to create a realistic text on a cinematic for your edit or something you're putting in a real life footage. So obviously the first thing you want to do is bring in your footage. So you want to double click down here, double click on here, so where it says texture, click on here. I'm going to bring in a JPEG sequence, but you can bring in has to be an AVI format video you could bring in. So you want to click the first frame. If you're using a JPEG sequence, press no, untick this. If you go down to editor, animate preview, obviously you don't need to press this if you're using a still image. You don't need to do any of this. You're going to go back to color, click on here, animation, calculate. So obviously if you're using a still image, you wouldn't need to do any of that. You just bring in your footage and then untick that. And then I have got a camera solve here from my previous video on how to motion track with Imbuju. I'll put the link to that video in the description. So what you want to do is create a background, drag this material onto your background, and there you go. And now if you move through the timeline, it should be moving if you're using a cinematic. Obviously if you're using a still image, it'll just be like this. What you want to do is go up to MoGraph and text, move your text. I went up here, enable the rotation of the text, just move it to where you want it, on what sort of angle I want. What I'm going to do is push this back a little bit, like that. Looks about right. Now what I want to do is create a plane. Go up here onto this cube and go plane. Now what you want to do is go onto your text and copy the X angle down here, and then you want to go onto your plane. Just you have to be quick at this. We're going to press Ctrl V, and let me just copy these. Just copy all these three angles, paste them onto your plane position. Just do this, and then oh shit, and Control V, and just hit apply. Now what you want to do is you want to go up here and you can move the camera about. Don't worry, when you click back on the timeline, it will go back to where it was. So what you want to do, you can zoom in a bit more here, is line the text up with the back of your image. Obviously if you're putting it on the floor, you line it with the bottom, but for this circumstance I'm putting it against the wall, so I want it against the wall. Let's put it at around there, turn it, put it back there, and you want to make sure it's pretty perfect. For this tour I'm just going to go quickly, you know, for tutorial purposes. Don't want the tutorial to be too long. And that would pretty much do it. Let's just adjust the text. It's not as wonky. And there we have it. So if you click back into the timeline, it should go back to there. Right. Now you have your. Let's just increase the size of the plane. Just drag it up here. Increase the size of the text. Let's just put tutorial like that. Now what you want to do is you want to create a new material. Double click down here, double click on here, select the color. I recommend if you're using a cinematic, use like a light grey, like that. Then what you want to do is right click on this this ball of paint, whatever you want to call it, and go to sphere and soft shadow. Now you want to go on luminance, tick that, put that to 22%, and that's pretty much it for the material. That's all I do. I mean, obviously you can adjust the color. No, sorry, there's one more thing. You need to go to reflectance, and go default specular, and then add a texture and go for now. There we go. And also drag this up like this to about 100%. So this is at the peak, and just make it slightly. You can copy these settings like that. It's pretty perfect. And just add that onto your text. Now obviously, if we render this out, you can see that background, that grey plane. So what you want to do is go up to your background, click on the material, hit Control, and drag it onto your plane. And even now, when you render it out, you can still see the outline. So what you want to do is go onto your material and change it to frontal. Then right click on your plane, go to Cinema 4D tags and compositing, and then compositing background, tick that, and untick self shadowing. Now if you render that, it should be gone. Now let's head over back to our text and add some caps. Let's turn that down, put that to 1. You want to adjust these the way you think looks good. I don't like too much caps. I think it looks a bit odd. So now you want to increase the depth. It's obviously whatever your preference is. Also, we need to add some horizontal spacing. Just adjust it to however, which way you want it to look. I mean, there's loads of different variations. So I want to bring it out. Right, so if we look at my text, there's a tiny gap between the text and the plane. So now what you want to do is, if you render it out now, it still looks really unrealistic. What you want to do is you want to go up to your settings, go Effect, and go Ambient, and then click on Global Illumination. And for Global Illumination settings, go to here and click on Legacy. Then you can go up to Save, choose where you want to save it. I'll just put it on my desktop. Save it as tut. And then go to what? Obviously, if you got a still picture, you pick JPEG. We have an animation, so I'm going to click AVI movie, and that's pretty much it. So now you want to add some light, create some shadows. So just click on this bulb up here, bring it outwards, and you want to say if the sun is in this top right hand corner, you'd want to position the light the same as in your footage. So if you've got a still picture and the sun's up here, you want the light to be up there, so the shadows, follow the picture as if you were. And then go click on shadow matte soft, put this to 80%. This is another setting that you'll need to play around with, whatever looks best. So if I render this out now, it's starting to look a lot better. So if I just move this like that, and that again, it's starting to look good. And the main thing you want to do is play around with this light, because this is what's going to give it the real, realistic look. So I'm going to move it a bit forward and put it as that. I'm going to go back into your settings actually and change something. If we go back to global illumination and put the gamma to 2, and go to up here and go record density, and we'll click high. In fact, I'm going to turn up this a little bit more and render this out. And what you might get is this like cut off, if that makes sense. What I'm going to do is just basically extend it until you don't see it anymore, and there we go. That looks really good. So I'm just going to change the color a bit more, make it a bit darker, and there we go. So you just want to play around with the lights to get the best shadows, play around with the color, the textures, just to make it more realistic. But this is a basic idea of how to create some pretty good realistic text in a cinematic or a still picture or whatever you guys are using. And that's pretty much it for today's tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. As I always say, if there's any tutorials you guys want, please post them down in the description and I'll be happy to help. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.
Must think that I'm lame, remembering back to us talking on aim and stealing your heart, that was never my aim. See, I let you leave and now nothing's the same. I'm picking your brain, you pick me apart. I'm picking your heart, you left me in dark. I guess all the pain and the hurt and the worry you left me with turned to the shell of a saw. Damn,